Every December, the village of Umuzu danced like a drum in the hands of a joyful drummer. The dusty roads turned bright with color, music filled the air, and the scent of roasted plantains and fresh palm wine floated like sweet memories. Young Dai, men who had left for far cities, returned, wearing shiny shoes and loud perfumes. Their cars gleamed like mirrors under the sun, and their smiles were even brighter. They wore clothes that sparkled like river diamonds and came with boxes full of gifts. Children ran after them, giggling. Women clapped their hands in delight. Every corner echoed with laughter and stories shared under the stars. In that same village lived a man named Kelechi. But Kelechi never joined the dancing or drumming. He often stood near the market wall, quiet, his eyes heavy with sadness. Though he was tall and handsome, with smooth skin and eyes like calm water, poverty clung to him like a second skin. His family name was respected, but respect could not feed an empty stomach. While others threw money into the air and drove big cars, Kelechi walked barefoot past their celebrations. His old friends laughed with wide mouths and full pockets. "Come, Kelechi, join us," they would shout, waving naira notes at him like leaves in the wind. He forced a smile, but inside, his chest was burning. That night, Kelechi sat in his tiny hut staring at the cracked ceiling. The oil lamp flickered beside him. His fists were tight, his teeth clenched, but he didn't cry. "Every year," he muttered, "they come home richer, and I stay the same. This shame is choking me." Then he whispered something that changed everything. "Next December they will kneel before me. Even if I must walk through fire, I will become rich." His words hung in the air like smoke. A promise. A curse. Soon, Kelechi heard whispers. Old men talking in low tones, market women gossiping behind wrappers. All their words pointed to one name, Obarano. "The man on the hill," they said. "He can make you rich overnight, but the road to his wealth is not clean." No one dared to look in the direction of Obarano's house. They said his mansion stood alone on Odu Hill, hidden by tall iroko trees that moved like shadows. At night his house glowed with a strange blue light, like moonlight from the wrong sky. But Kelechi had made up his mind. "What do I have to lose?" he said, tying his wrapper tightly as he walked up the narrow path to the hill. The wind was cold and dry leaves crunched under his feet. No crickets chirped, no owls hooted, only silence walked with him. At the top, a tall gate stood waiting. Without a knock, the gate creaked open, as if it had been waiting too. Inside, Obarano sat, like a statue on a lion-carved chair. His face was half covered in shadows. A single candle lit the room and the air smelled of burning herbs. His voice came like thunder from deep in the earth. "What do you seek, Kelechi?" Kelechi stepped forward, his legs shaking. "I want wealth. I'll do anything." Obarano leaned forward, his eyes glowing red, like burning wood in a dying fire. "Anything?" he asked, his voice sharp like a razor leaf. Kelechi nodded, though his stomach twisted. The man laughed. It was not the laugh of joy. It was the laugh of something dark. "There are 3 doors," he said, holding up 3 fingers. "You must choose only one." Kelechi's mouth went dry. "The first path," Obarano began, "requires you to offer your mother, the one who gave you life. Her blood for your riches," Kelechi gasped. "No, never." "Silence," said the man, lifting one bony finger. "The second," he continued, "asks for your manhood, your pride, your strength, gone forever. You will walk as a shell of yourself." Kelechi's knees shook, his vision blurred. "And the third," Obarano said, his tone now darker than the night, "is the path of innocent lives. You will poison children, turn their laughter to cries and their joy into silence. But in return, gold will rain into your lap." Kelechi almost fell. His heart pounded like a war drum. His mother? No. His pride? Impossible. Children, even. The thought made him sick. But the hunger for respect, for money, for power, It screamed louder than his guilt. "Choose," said Obarano. His voice echoed through the house like thunder cracking the sky. Kelechi left the mansion, but peace did not return with him. For days he wandered. His mother's smile haunted him. His manhood, his pride, was too sacred. But those children, he didn't know them. They weren't his. And gold. Gold was waiting. He could not sleep. Each breath was heavy. Each moment dragged like a stone behind his back. At last he returned. Obarano was waiting. "I've made my choice," Kelechi whispered. The children. The room grew colder. Obarano grinned, showing sharp teeth, like broken shells. He handed Kelechi a small black pouch. Inside was a mix of strange leaves, gray dust, and something that shimmered like ash. "Stir this into their food," he said. "It will take them quietly. And in return, you will have everything you desire." Kelechi took the bag with trembling hands. "And after that?" he asked, barely breathing. "You'll be rich," said Obarano, smiling. "Very rich." Obarano's grin stretched wider, revealing teeth sharp like bones left in the sun. "But remember," he said, voice low like a snake sliding through dry leaves. "This must be done every December as Christmas nears. Wealth always demands a price." Kelechi nodded, his hands gripping the black pouch like it weighed the world. As he walked down Odu Hill, the wind whistled through the Iroko trees. "You can never return," it seemed to whisper. When Christmas finally came, Umuzu came alive again. Children filled the dusty paths with games and laughter sweet like ripe mangoes. Their joy danced in the air like birdsong. The whole town sang, drummed, and shared in the celebration. But Kelechi didn't join them. He stayed locked inside his home. He sat in silence, the black pouch before him. For the first time he opened it fully. Inside the powder looked ordinary, gray and dull. But its smell? Bitter. Smoky. Like burnt rubber and sour herbs. It stung his nose. With trembling hands, Kelechi stirred it into 3 small meals: rice, red stew, and sugared coconut flakes. He sealed them in neat wraps, his chest thudding harder with each knot. Then he stepped out, smiling wide, his voice bright like morning dew. "Merry Christmas, my little ones," he called to the children, nearby. They ran to him with open arms and glowing faces. "Uncle Kelechi brought food," one shouted with joy. Kelechi bent down and handed them the food packs one by one. "Eat well, children," he said, his voice warm like roasted maize. "Thank you, Uncle. May the gods bless you," they sang, their small hands clutching the wow. "Gifts." Kelechi waved and walked back home, his smile still painted on. But inside, he was quiet, cold. Days passed. Kelechi waited. Then it began. A wealthy trader called from the city. He offered Kelechi a contract, one that men fought over. Soon, blessings rained like the wet season. Business poured in. Opportunities arrived like birds flying toward light. In 1 month, Kelechi's life changed. He bought a sleek black car that growled like a panther. His clothes shimmered with golden thread. He built a tall house that touched the skies with walls carved like a palace. Kelechi is truly favored, the people of Umuzu said. He helps the poor. He feeds our children. Surely the ancestors smile on him. But at night, the laughter of those children followed him like ghosts. Their tiny voices echoed in his dreams. He tossed. He turned. But greed always spoke louder. If 3 packs gave me this, he thought, eyes wide with hunger. How much more could I gain with more? He began to count, to plan. Next Christmas, he would not stop at 3. When the season returned, Kelechi was ready. This time, he prepared 100 food packs, each one mixed carefully with Obarano's powder, a little death wrapped in celebration. His hands moved fast. His heart did not flinch. "This year I will double my riches," he whispered. His eyes gleamed like a jackal in the shadows. Kelechi chose Alaoma Secondary School. It was the largest in Umuzu, filled with children full of laughter and light. On the last day before Christmas break, the school was alive with joy. Music played from corner speakers. Balloons danced in windows. The air was thick with the smell of jollof rice and fried meat. Then came a voice from the gate. "Chief Kelechi is here." Children rushed forward, their giggles bubbling like waterfalls. Shiny black car rolled in, its tires whispering against the ground. Kelechi stepped out wearing a fine native cloth. His shoes gleamed. His voice was like sweet wine. "My children," he called. "May joy fill your homes." The headmistress clapped. "Chief Kelechi, you are a gift from the gods. You bless us every year." His men brought out big sacks of rice, crates of juice, and colorful envelopes filled with money. The Yar students clapped and lined up in excitement. "Thank you, Chief," they cried, arms outstretched. Kelechi smiled. He waved. He handed out gift after gift. But his heart? It was colder than river water at dawn. His soul no longer trembled. Days later, tragedy struck. 3 children died. Silently, mysteriously. No wounds, no answers. Umuzu fell into mourning. Families wailed in the streets. Drums stopped. Laughter vanished. Only the cries of mothers filled the air. "What has happened to our children?" they asked. "Why did the gods allow this?" Among the grieving were Mr. and Mrs. Ozika. Their daughter Zina had eaten the same food, but survived. Still, sorrow hung over their home like smoke. That night, while Umuzu cried, Mrs. Ozika had a dream. She saw the school, wrapped in darkness. A black cloud moved like a living thing, coiling around the children, squeezing them gently, slowly, until their laughter faded into silence, and in the center of it all stood Kelechi. He was smiling, handing out gifts. His eyes, black and hollow, like a moonless night. She woke up screaming. Mama Ozika jolted from sleep with a scream, her nightclothes soaked in sweat. "There's evil in that man," she cried, grabbing her husband's arm. "Oberano showed me in a dream. His gifts are cursed." "Calm down," said Papa Ozika, rubbing his eyes. "What are you saying, woman?" She trembled as she spoke. "Kelechi, the food he brings, it carries death. We must protect Zina." At first light, the Ozikas went from house to house. "Please keep your children away from Kelechi," they begged. "His kindness is not clean. Something is wrong." But the other parents only laughed. "You're too afraid of shadows," one father scoffed. "Since Kelechi became rich, he's helped every school in Umuzu," said another. "Now that he's finally blessing our children, you want us to chase him away?" Even the school headmistress waved off their warnings. "If you don't want the gift," she said, "keep Zina at home during the party." Frustrated, the Ozikas turned to their daughter. "Zina, listen well," Papa Ozika said. "If you love us, promise us one thing. Never take anything." "From Kelechi," Mama Ozika added. "No food, no drinks, nothing." Zina's face fell. "But why, Mama?" she asked. "He gives to everyone. Why not me?" They didn't tell her about the dream. They only held her shoulders tight. "Promise us." Zina nodded slowly. "I promise." But in her heart, Zina was torn. Why were her parents being so unfair? Kelechi had always seemed kind. He fed the hungry. He helped the poor. What could be wrong with that? Soon the other villagers began to mock the Ozikas. "You're making your child fearful," they said. "You're poisoning her joy. Do you think you're better than us? Maybe you're just jealous that your own husband isn't as successful." Even Zina's classmates teased her. "You're missing out," they said. "When will you ever meet another rich man like Chief Kelechi?" Though their laughter stung her, the Ozikas stood firm. They would not let their daughter accept anything from him. What they didn't know was that their greatest test was coming. Zina loved school with all her heart. She loved the games, the giggles, the shared lunchtime jokes, the songs they sang during break. But since her parents started keeping her home whenever Kelechi visited, her world had shrunk. It felt dull and lonely. Then one morning, as her parents left for the market, an idea bloomed inside her like fire. "I'll go," she whispered. "They won't know." She packed her uniform into a small bag and waited for silence to settle in the house. When the coast was clear, she slipped out. Her heart thudded as she tiptoed down the back road, changing into her school clothes behind a tall cassava bush near the gate. She hid her regular dress in the shrubs. At school, her friends squealed with delight. "Zena, you came!" they screamed, hugging her tight. For a while, she forgot everything. She played, she laughed, and she felt alive again. And from that day, she made it a secret routine. Every morning, she'd sneak out, change her clothes, and join her friends like nothing had happened. No one suspected a thing. "You're lucky," her best friend whispered one day. "I wish I had your freedom." Zena smiled wide. But deep inside, something stirred. A quiet voice warned her. She pushed it away. She didn't know the danger was closer than breath, waiting like a cobra in dry grass. It was the day of the end-of-year celebration. Bright Future Academy glowed like a festival. Classrooms were dressed with balloons, colorful ribbons, and handmade chains. Music danced from every corner. The air smelled of jollof rice, grilled chicken, and sugar cake. Children ran across the compound like birds in flight. Laughter bubbled like a flowing stream. Zena was among them, her cheeks glowing, her eyes sparkling. She had snuck out again, and today she was free. No rules, no warnings. She clapped, played, and sang with her classmates. Then, a loud shout came from the gate. "Chief Kelechi is here." Children shrieked with excitement. A wave of them rushed forward like ants to honey. Kelechi's car rolled into the school, black and shining like polished stone. He stepped out, tall and proud, wrapped in golden cloth. His shoes reflected the sun. His smile stretched wide. "My beautiful children," he said smoothly. "May the gods bless your joy." The headmistress beamed. "Chief Kelechi, you are the sun in our sky. Thank you for choosing us again." His workers moved quickly, unloading rice, drinks, sweet pastries, and little brown envelopes stuffed with crisp notes. The children lined up, clapping and laughing, eyes wide with wonder. "Thank you, Chief." They shouted one after another. Kelechi smiled and patted their heads gently. "Eat well, my stars." The party roared on. Music rose. Feet danced. Joy swelled in every corner. Children tore open their gifts and bit into the meals hungrily. Juice poured. Laughter grew louder. Then, a scream. A child stumbled, held their chest, collapsed. The music stopped. Screams followed. Another child fell. Then another. Chaos broke loose. The joy turned to terror. The stream of laughter dried into gasps and sobs. Teachers shouted. Parents rushed in. Children cried. Kelechi stood still, his smile slowly fading. And Zena? She stood in the corner, frozen, her hands trembling, her eyes wide, her breath caught. Because in that moment, she remembered her parents' warning. A teacher screamed, "Help! Someone help!" as she rushed toward a collapsed child on the school ground. Before anyone could understand what was happening, another child fell. Then another. Gasps turned into cries. Cries turned into screams. Panic swept through Bright Future Academy like fire on dry grass. Teachers shouted orders. Parents ran into the compound. Children scattered in every direction like frightened chicks. In the center of the madness stood Zena, frozen. Her heart pounded like war drums. She couldn't move, couldn't speak, just watched as joy vanished before her eyes. Laughter was replaced by silence. One child lay still, then another. Zena's vision blurred. Her knees trembled and buckled. The world tilted. She collapsed. By the end of the day, the once cheerful schoolyard was a graveyard of sorrow. 30 small bodies lay still beneath the open sky. Parents wailed with voices that could tear stone. Teachers wept like children. The whole village of Umuzu sank into fear and pain. News spread fast. At the Ozika home, the silence was thick. Mr. and Mrs. Ozika had just returned from the market when whispers reached their ears. Something's happened at the school. The news hit them like thunder. They rushed into the house. "Zena!" Mama Ozika called. No answer. The rooms were still. "She should have been here by now," Mama Ozika said, her hands shaking. Papa Ozika tried to stay calm, but his voice cracked. Maybe she's with a neighbor?" His hands trembled as he checked his phone. No messages, no calls. Then came a knock. It was the neighbor's daughter, a quiet girl with big eyes and a trembling voice. "Auntie," she whispered, "I have to tell you something." Mama Ozika moved closer, her breath caught in her chest. "Zena. She's been sneaking out. She hides her uniform in a bag and changes near the school gate." The words felt like a slap. Mama Ozika gasped. Papa Ozika's face darkened. Without another word, they bolted from the house. When they reached the school, the air was filled with screams and prayers. Parents rolled on the floor in grief. Teachers covered their faces and cried into their hands. "Where is Zena?" Mama Ozika cried, grabbing a man by the arm. He looked at her with broken eyes. "I don't know," he said softly. Some children were taken to the clinic. The Ozikas didn't wait for directions. They ran. At the town's small hospital, sorrow sat thick in the air like smoke after a fire. Parents crowded the doorway, begging for answers. Nurses moved like ghosts, carrying more pain than medicine. The Ozikas pushed inside, searching every corner, every bed. Then, there she was. Zena. She lay on a narrow hospital bed, still and pale, but her chest moved. Her breath was slow, but steady. "She's alive." Mama Ozika fell to her knees. Tears spilled down her face as she clutched Zena's hand. A doctor approached, his eyes tired and his voice gentle. "She fainted," he said, "but she didn't eat the food. That's why she's safe." Mama Ozika broke into sobs. Papa Ozika knelt, his head bowed in gratitude. "Thank the ancestors," he whispered. "Our daughter was spared." As they stepped outside, they saw the full weight of the tragedy. Parents wept over covered bodies. The school van had become a place of mourning. Mothers screamed names that would never be answered again. The Ozikas walked slowly among them, grief heavy in their bones. Then Mama Ozika spoke. "We warned you," she said, her voice calm but sharp. "We told you not to trust Kelechi. But you didn't listen." The other parents could only cry harder, burying their faces in their hands. They had chased gold and paid with blood. A heavy silence fell over Umuzu, dark as a thundercloud. The Ozikas held Zena close, vowing never to let her leave their sight again. Kelechi's curse had touched the town, and the scars would never fade. Back at Bright Future Academy, the school once filled with singing and dance now sat quiet, broken by sorrow. Only a few children had survived. They stood together, near the gate, small, silent, their eyes wide with fear. Then came the sound of boots and sirens. The police had arrived. Their voices broke the stillness. "It was him," a small boy cried, pointing at Kelechi with a shaking finger. "He gave us the food," another girl sobbed, tears pouring down her face. Kelechi, who just hours ago had stood tall with pride, now looked hollow. His eyes were sunken. His legs gave way beneath him as he collapsed to the ground. "I never wanted this," he wailed, voice cracked and broken. "I didn't mean to." But the children kept shouting. "He did it. He cursed us." Their voices grew louder, raw with grief. Backed into a corner, his face wet with sweat and tears, Kelechi confessed. "It was Obarano's shrine," he cried out. "I made a deal. For wealth. I mixed the powder. I fed it to them." Gasps spread through the crowd like wildfire. The teachers froze in shock. The parents, their hearts already torn, began to mutter in anger. Then the headmistress stepped forward. Her face was pale, her hands clenched. "You monster," she whispered, "You killed our children." Police officers seized him immediately, shackling his hands behind his back. As they dragged him away, the crowd erupted. "He must pay. Let justice be done." The ground shook with their cries, not of joy but rage and pain. But it wasn't over. That night, a wave of fury swept through the town. Led by grief and guided by anger, the people stormed Kelechi's mansion. The house that once glowed like a palace now stood dark and cold, like the belly of a beast. Inside, everything glittered. Gold vases, silk curtains, marble floors. But in the center of the main chamber, they found it. The shrine. A giant wooden serpent wrapped around a blood-red altar. Strange feathers, bones, and dried leaves lay around it. Candles flickered on their own. And beside the altar, a familiar black pouch of powder. "The one he used," someone whispered. "Burn it," another voice roared. The crowd didn't wait. Fire met wood. The serpent crackled. Smoke spiraled high into the night sky. "End this curse," they chanted. Flames roared. The shrine screamed as it burned, and when it was done, only ashes remained. That night, the strange deaths stopped, and for the first time in weeks, the air in Umuzu felt light again. Kelechi, once the golden man of the village, now sat in prison. He was sentenced to life behind bars, but his punishment didn't end with the walls. Each night he closed his eyes and saw the children, their bright faces, their laughter, their dancing feet. They visited him in his dreams and turned his nights into nightmares. Back in Umuzu, the people mourned deeply. To honor the lost children, parents planted trees in the schoolyard. Each tree carried a name, a story, a memory. Over time, they grew tall and strong. Their branches reached for the sky like tiny hands stretching upward. They became a living reminder of lives cut short. Every Christmas after that, the village changed. There were no more flashy gifts from outsiders, no more loud music without meaning. Instead, the people gathered at the school, under the trees, to tell the story. Parents warned their children, "Be careful of gifts that shine too bright. Not all smiles are honest. Not all hands give with love." And so, the tale of Kelechi of Umuzu was passed down from voice to voice. A tale of greed, deception, and the terrible price of chasing riches at any cost.